Breakfast. My guest is the Majority Leader in Parliament, Member of Parliament for the good people of Bawku Central, the Honorable Mahama Ayariga. Good morning.
Good morning.
When did you go to sleep last night? Or was it this morning?
Actually, this morning. You know, we left very late after the approval of the outstanding ministerial nominees. And we got home late and managed to catch some sleep, and we're back here, ready to work.
Are you relieved?
Oh, I mean, I didn't expect that it will be otherwise, so it's not something that was stressful. We expected to approve everybody.
Were you surprised by the stance of the minority with regards to two of your ministers designate for communication and foreign affairs?
Oh no, I'm not surprised. They were acting under some pressure, and unfortunately, they were not tactful not to betray where the pressure was coming from. If you listen carefully, you will notice that their main issue with both, Ablakwa and Sam George had nothing to do with the ministries that they were going to, or the work that they would do at the ministries, or their appreciation of the policy issues at those ministries. Their main issue with Sam George was some indication that he had said some unsavory things about the former president, President Akufo-Addo. In the case of Ablakwa, it wasn't about foreign policy and what, ideas he had to implement there and how foreign policy will be enhanced to inure to the economic development or accelerated development of the country, and how it will increase the loaf of bread and reduce the price of kinke. It was basically about he being asked to chair the oral committee and the work that he's doing to follow up on complaints that he has received as chairman of the oral committee. So I wasn't surprised, because these are two young people that have been in the forefront of the political fight by the NDC to return to power. And they've put in so much effort to expose the NPP administration under President Akufo-Addo as one that deserved to be kicked out, and to give NDC an opportunity. And then, usually you find out that those people become political targets of the opposing side. And anytime such a person appears before a committee, the person will be subjected to a lot of grueling treatment. I've been through that a couple of times. People have forgotten. I mean, I was the spokesperson of Atamils leading to his election as a presidential candidate of the NDC, and I continued as a spokesperson, and we did everything in spite of all the predictions that President Atamils could not win election, this and that. We did whatever it took, and he won. When it came to my vetting as a mere deputy minister, I can assure you it took me about 3 months before the appointments committee. People have forgotten. So I'm used to it. I understand the politics that if you really were a thorn in the flesh of the ruling party and you participate in fighting so hard and wrestling power from their hands, when you appear before the appointments committee, they will do everything to deal with you. And that was exactly what they were doing. But the good thing is that those two gentlemen were not perturbed, because they know that we have the numbers to approve them no matter what they did. And everybody agrees that they are good material, and nobody doubts their competence and capacity to deliver on the task that His Excellency is giving them. I mean, I heard my brother, my senior brother, was an uncle on television talking about his income and his residence and the cost and etc. Our position was that these are really not matters for Parliament. If you think somebody is living above his income, there's YOCO, there's the Office of Special Prosecutor, there's the IGP's office. Go and report. If you think somebody is not paying his taxes, there's GRA. As for us, we simply ask them, can you give us tax clearance? If the person brings tax clearance, A tax clearance is the communication officially coming from the GRA Director General that the person has either paid his taxes or made arrangements to pay his taxes. So once we get that, we asked for a report from the police, a security report. Every nominee that came before us, we requested for a security report. And the security report said, all clear. The person has no crime that he has committed. We're not investigating for any crime. He's not being prosecuted for anything. So there's no criminal charge against the person. So if you have something that is unrelated to the qualification of the person under the Constitution, we will listen to you. But we're not appropriate quarters to be probing into how did you manage to pay your rent when your income is X. Person has a wife. The wife is a lawyer. You don't know her income. You don't know her inheritance. And so you can't sit and just ask a simplistic question that, oh, you are living in Airport Hills and your income is X. How come you're living in Airport Hills? There's a little more probing that needs to be done. And people have a right to privacy. And like I said, it's not the job of the Appointments Committee to ask how you are paying your rent. If you think that somebody is paying his rent through criminal means, I beg you, the Office of Special Prosecutor is there, the YOCO office is there. Ablakwa, when he felt strongly about somebody, he went all out. He went to Shraj, he went to court, he went to YOCO, he went everywhere. You know Ablakwa, if he really felt strongly and convinced about you having committed an offense, he went to every extent to prove his case.
So you won't be surprised if now that he's minister, somebody may come up and say, look, we are taking you to YOCO or Shraj or OSP because some things don't add up. You won't be surprised.
That's the beauty of our democracy. That's the beauty of the framework of governance that we have set for ourselves. Is that okay? I have no inhibitions. I don't care. It's not my concern. I get in the situation. Each and every one of us is accountable for their actions. And this government intends to go by that principle, that everyone is accountable for his actions. If anybody feels strongly about how he pays his rent and thinks that there's an institution that deals with that and goes there, we have no problem. But Parliament and the vetting committee is not a platform to be questioning how people are paying their rents. It's not. Especially when you haven't made a case. All you are saying is that, I know you to be living in this area, and how come that you are living in that area? I know the rents at Airport Hills. Honestly, I don't know the rents at Airport Hills. I've never checked. And somebody gives me his address and says, I live at Airport Hills. I'm not supposed to be finding out, why do you live at Airport Hills? I agree with him that our institutions must function better. And I am one of those who will advocate for that and push for that. Because if we say we are really going to fight corruption, and then somebody is riding the most expensive vehicles, living in the most expensive properties, and the tax authorities are not interested in how that person is living in those facilities and utilizing those facilities and flying first class all the time. In some jurisdictions, the tax authorities will be interested. That's the starting point when it comes to fighting corruption. That, how did you get this? How did you get that? Where is it coming from? Okay.
Weren't those the questions that the minority were asking in Parliament?
But they were asking at the wrong platform. Do you understand my point? That's the wrong platform. Go to some other platform where they have jurisdiction to probe those matters. And the matter hasn't ended. The man is now going to be sworn in as a Minister of State. So if you really have issues with that, go and ask. Go and ask.
How many more people?
I have been sent to Shraj before. I have been investigated. I have been sent to Office of Special Prosecutor before. I have been investigated. I have been prosecuted. I have been vindicated.
What was that experience like? What was it like?
Oh, well, I mean, once you know that you haven't really committed an offense, you just go through it, and you know that you'll be, vindicated in the end. So I really didn't. It just wasted my time. Abide by the values and principles of public accountability. So when you are being held publicly accountable...
Ministers designate have to be vetted. How many have you done so far?
I think 18 more are outstanding because the president promised 60, and then he's nominated, and we have vetted and approved 42.
In what ways can... so I'm just rephrase this. So the minority leader says that your side is deliberately frustrating the vetting process.
How's that? I don't know how we are deliberately frustrating the vetting process. Vetting is being done the way that every vetting has been done in this country. The difference, of course, is that our party promised to set up government within a very short period of time. And the good thing is that the party has the numbers in Parliament to push to meet its timelines. And all we've done is to exert pressure on him to work with us to meet our timelines. But he's had every opportunity to ask every question under the sun, to understand where everybody is beginning to get frustrated by his line of questioning, how much time he spends questioning people.
Are there no limits?
But the practice has always been to allow the minority leader to ask as many questions as he can ask. The reason is that you limit the number of questions that the individual MPs can ask. So for instance, if I'm just an ordinary member of the committee, I can ask only 3 questions. Now, what the minority leader is supposed to be doing is that when you notice that your member who is limited to just 3 questions, his questions and the answers that emanated from the questioning also provided some clues to some further matters that ought to be probed into. But because that person has only 3 questioning opportunities, he cannot go further.
Then he gives it to the minority leader?
No, so you note it.
Okay.
Is that okay? You note it for almost everybody. Then, when it is your turn,
then
you can now follow up on every outstanding matter that a member on your side tried to probe into, but because of the limitations of time, that person couldn't delve that much deeper into it.
Is that not what Mr. Hon Mahama was doing?
But that is, when you are doing, the people will see. Okay? When you are doing that, people will see. And if you are doing it well, people will see. But to tell you the truth, and I have told him in person this, it's not as if I'm sitting on this platform and I'm trying to reduce him in stature or anything of that sort. Majority of the cases, I don't think he was really seriously pinning down anybody to something that was outstanding.
Give an
I
example.
mean, there are so many. If you just watch
the Bawku and the John George vetting, people had a lot of issues with that. They think he spent a lot of time.
A lot of time. But then, a lot of it wasn't on policy issues. A lot of it wasn't on telecommunication sector issues. A lot of it was he just forcing to extract an apology from Sam George, an apology to President Nana Akufo-Addo. That was all he was struggling to do, just to extract an apology. When it came to Ablakwa, all the things about rent and this and that had nothing to do with foreign policy.
Yeah, but don't you agree
Let me land.
Just policy, it's also your ethical side.
Let me land. If it was just the ethical issues and the personality issues, no. It was vengeance because he is the chairman of ORA and he is purported to be pursuing MPP kingpins and ministers and leaders for allegedly purchasing public lands at ridiculous prices, grabbing some of them without paying the proper compensation to the state. If you listen to the entire vetting of these 2 years.
But you do agree that the ORA chairman has to be above board. He is the one who is chasing people. He should be clean. Maybe that was his point.
And I'm saying that you have platforms to go and vindicate that. If you have anything, you have platforms to go and vindicate that. And I'm saying that to the extent that you haven't brought anything. You see, in law, you see, you should know the rule against self-incrimination. Do you understand? You cannot come to a platform and be trying very much to extract information from me, hoping that you will use it to incriminate me. it's not known in law, and he's a lawyer. He knows that.
You get the situation.
No, I get what you're saying. So
for instance, your people were over answering. So when they over answer, the man picks stuff and then goes. Instead of just
that, I think also was a fault on some of my guys, because even I was sometimes trying to urge them, because I have a way that I'll go to a vetting committee and then in 10 minutes I'm done, because it's yes, no.
That's
no,
it?
Yes.
You didn't coach them with all your experience?
Well, they've been before the appointments committee before. We've done previous training, except one or two of them that are new. Like Ablaka was deputy minister, and the previous time when we were doing that, we had trained them, and some of them we had coached them. We had indicated to them that be short, there should be brevity in your responses, and etc. Some get carried away by the cameras, and then
you want to say something for the headlines.
It becomes a show, you know. They want to show that they know, and etc. And we're happy. We're happy to also let the public know that we are very erudite, we are very competent, we are very knowledgeable nominees, and so they can have confidence that public affairs will be managed most effectively and efficiently. Except that the risk also is that the more you talk, the more you give opportunities for questioning.
And I thought that was Mr. Markin's strategy. He was just letting them talk, and then he picks on them.
Exactly, but which is also not really the best, because you must come with your own background investigation on people, and then you must be pinning them to what you have found out, not hoping that they will slip and you will get them.
You're watching GTV Breakfast. My guest is the Majority Leader in Parliament, the Honorable Mahama Ayariga. If you want to get through to us, our WhatsApp number is 055-556-1034, and you can send your questions over to him, and I'll pass them all through to him as soon as possible. Now, so yesterday we had the Speaker basically reinstate those people who had been suspended, and apologies left, right, and center. What is the guarantee that we're not going to see that kind of chaos that we saw last week, which basically sent our parliament down in our estimation?
We just hope that people keep to the commitments that they have made to be of good behavior and not to be disorderly in their conduct in the chamber. That's the key thing. Trust me, if anybody engages in disorderly conduct, we will cite you for contempt of the House, and also cite you for disorderly conduct. I can assure you that we'll crack the whip. As you can see, Speaker swiftly moved in and suspended them. But of course, like I said, the whole idea is not to punish people, but to instill a culture of discipline. And so when people come and apologize and are remorseful and make a commitment not to repeat such behavior, why not? Come back, let's continue working.
You've been cited as somebody who was very calm and diplomatic when everything was going on. I mean, did you feel tempted to jump into the fray when all that chaos was going down? How did you handle the whole situation?
Well, I have an attitude towards chaos, which is just to be calm when there's chaos. Somebody sent me a message and said, "You were so calm when there was so much chaos." I said, "That's because I'm from Bawku."
Explain that for somebody who doesn't know. When somebody doesn't know this, I mean, what does that mean?
I said, that's because I'm from Bawku, because what you are calling chaos here for me is child's play.
Child's play.
So I see this as child's play. And that's why I, for a while, just ignored what was happening, just to see if I could mediate and engage both sides, calm them down. And after a while, I started the mediation, because apparently they had scheduled to do, some of them said 3, others said 4. The majority side says they plan to do 4. The minority side they said 3 or something. And then some of the majority members said no, they had planned to take both those who couldn't be taken the day before because of Vamevor's issue, and then those who were supposed to be taken on the Thursday. So that increased the number to about 8 or so. And so, but it was obvious that they were not communicating to each other well. So while this person has this understanding, the other person has the other understanding. So when I discovered that that was the problem, I then tried to see if I could mediate between them. And I said, okay. And then the minority said, even though they thought they were going to do 3, they had done 5. And then the majority said, no, no, we thought we were going to do all.
So just miscommunication, really?
Yes, it's just miscommunication. But then they had achieved 5. And then already it was about 8 p.m. in the evening. So initially my first move was to plead with the minority to agree to Akando, who was already seated and had taken the oath to be vetted. Then we will defer Ablakwa to the following morning, Friday morning, and, you know, convince the majority side to defer Ablakwa and do just Akando. But then the whole commotion started. It became an ego thing. It no longer was about what can we entertain. It became an ego thing, you know. And then they started shouting at each other and pushing the table and unblocking the microphones and etc.
Breaking tables and things like that.
Ultimately breaking the table. And then I realized that it was just not going to be possible to continue. Because where they had reached, it wasn't going to be possible to mediate anything. And I just thought to end proceedings there. I don't think my side was that happy with the decision to end proceedings there. Our side feels we have the numbers, we are in charge, let us do whatever we want. But I say it's not all the time that you do whatever you want because you are in charge and you have the numbers. Sometimes you entertain the other side so that you can work together. So basically, that was it. And we managed to bring the situation under control. And as it is, all we're trying to do now is to redeem the image of Parliament, set up a committee, investigate what happened. Even though everybody saw what happened on television,
they're still going to
it was like they were still going to investigate. We're still going to investigate what everybody saw. And there's an outstanding matter that needs to be resolved. Who pays for the table that was broken? Of course. So maybe the investigation is to establish exactly who broke the table and who should be held accountable for breaking the table. And if there are other measures that can be put in place to forestall future misconduct, I think it will be welcome.
Are the 4 formally suspended but now reinstated? Do they look remorseful? Do they? I mean, what's their conduct?
Well, they were asked to indicate if they were not remorseful, and they seem to have said they were remorseful.
So they're back?
Yeah, they're back. They were back yesterday in the chamber, and then we did business. If you watch the screens, you would have seen that some of them came. 1 or 2 didn't show up yesterday, but officially they are supposed to be back.
There was a conversation around the quality of questions that are being asked in Parliament. Some feel the standard could be higher, and then some also feel they are unnecessary questions. What's the protocol around questions? What is a good question?
Well, you're asked to approve, to vet somebody for approval to be a minister. You can ask whatever question you think, in your opinion, helps you to make up your mind if the person is qualified to be your minister. Because he's not just a minister of the president, but your minister as a member of Parliament and as a citizen of Ghana. So you can ask questions, policy-related questions. It's much, much better. Personal questions, you know, sometimes, unless you have evidence of some criminal conduct and etc., unless you really can establish some case of moral turpitude, things like that, unless you can establish some case of unprofessional conduct in the person's chosen profession, you know, things like that, that go to integrity and credibility of a person to occupy a public office.
What is the point of asking a Muslim nominee how many wives you have? What did that seek to achieve?
I don't know why the person is asking that question.
Yeah, because it happened more than once.
Well,
was that a good question?
like I said, there's really no good or bad question, depending on who is being questioned, and depending on the motive behind the person who is questioning. If you're asking how many wives he has one. He's a Muslim, he has one. He's a Muslim, he has two, he has three. I think that it gives women an opportunity to evaluate that person. Maybe. It gives Muslims an opportunity to evaluate that person, that he really believes in the Muslim creed, and then he is practicing it, and etc.
Would you be offended if they asked you that question in the vetting?
No, I would simply answer and give you, because you see, marriage is a public thing. So you can't be hiding, unless really you're hiding something, the person knows you're hiding something. You know, like somebody told me about during the early days of the revolution, and then someone was being probed, and he appeared before the Citizens Vetting Committee. And normally you fill a form in which you indicate your assets, your family, children, etc. He had honestly filled the form indicating all his children, which included children that his wife did not know about. And then the committee members, being very bad people, who just wanted to put him under some pressure, made sure that the day he was going to be vetted, his wife was sitting there. And then they asked him, Mr. Kwame, how many children do you have? Then he will start, Mensa, Equia, Araba. Did I mention Mensa?
Because he knew his wife was there.
Did I mention Equia? They said, yeah, you mentioned Equia. How about Mensa? Did I also mention? They said, mention. Then they saw that they were achieving what they wanted to achieve, was to put him under some pressure. And so Mr. Mensa, should we take it that what you filled here reflects everything? Yes, sir, please, yes. Whatever I feel.
No verification. Maybe you should have been close with his wife before he came there, you know?
So unless you are hiding something and the person knows, and the person wants to expose you, because really, credibility is also important. The person wants to expose you, that you're hiding a wife somewhere, and your wife doesn't know, etc. Otherwise, I think it's an innocent question. You should answer it and move on.
Mr. Nominee, your wife is very beautiful. I had a question like that. What was his wife going to do with him?
That can be dangerous.
Yeah?
That can be dangerous. You should watch that person. You should watch that person.
And then they were, from your side, oh, congratulations, well done, take care, congratulations. The majority side just, most of the time, we're just congratulating the people. Is that the point of the vetting?
Yeah, you know, a lot of the people, we know them. We know them. We've been in Parliament with them, some of them for 12 years, others for 16 years, others for 8 years. Very often, you know the competencies of the person. So, you know that he can do the job. He's been brilliant on the floor several times. You go to the Hansard, you see his contributions on the floor and etc. So, person appears before you, and then, your president has given an indication that he wants to form government within a short period of time. You don't want to be part of those unnecessarily elongating the process. So sometimes we urge members of our sides that if you really don't have anything negative about the person, don't waste our time.
Okay.
Is that okay? If it's about the policy issues, we wrote our manifesto and indicated the promises that we made to the people together, including that person sitting there, including you, the person questioning. We all wrote that manifesto, which is the basis of the work that the person is going to the ministry to do. So what are the questions that you have to ask the person? Leave the opposition, let them probe, let them do their politics, but your primary interest is to get the person approved. The president, in his wisdom, has decided that that's the person he wants to do the job. And the person would have done his background checks. And if you notice, a lot of the people that we are pushing to do the job are people who were ranking members. Okay? Previously. They were shadow ministers of those sectors.
So they have familiarity
for the past 8 years.
Okay.
So their track record in discussions of policy issues in those sectors are known. There are very few people who are new people who don't really have a track record there and etc. But even in their different fields of endeavor, We know them. We know that they were part of the manifesto committee. We know that they participated in writing the chapter of the sector that they participated in. So for all these background information that we have, we just don't feel a need to elongate the process and just, you know, take advantage of airtime and, you know, show off. Because we could ask them questions to enable them to, you know, look good. Is that okay?
Yeah.
But it is that versus how fast you can achieve the approval process so that they can be sworn in, and then, because we need to form government.
Yeah, indeed.
And we need to get working fast.
Right.
We need the ministers in office to do that.
One of the ministers that you cleared through, Linda Oklu, Greater Accra Regional Minister, she has vowed to fix 70% of Accra street lights in 50 days. Would have loved to hear her say this during the vetting, but she had a record 6 minutes, 23 seconds vetting time. We asked the minority leader 2 days ago, Thelma asked him, what happened? And he said, you people, you begged for her to not face the vetting. Is that true?
Is he suggesting that he compromised standards? Because as a minority leader, you have an obligation to do your work well. And if he would sit on television and say that he was begged not to do his work and he didn't do his work, you should hold him accountable.
Did you beg though?
I wasn't there. I didn't know what happened. I mean, if you notice, after my nomination as a majority leader, I ceased to be a member of the appointments committee. So I stopped attending. I only zoomed in when there was trouble and I needed to dash there to go and help them resolve it. Otherwise, most of it I wasn't there. I really don't know. I heard it on television, on radio and on television.
Were you surprised? A 6-minute vetting?
I actually don't know how long it took because I wasn't there.
You can play the whole full video. It's 6 minutes, 23 seconds.
Oh, really? I don't know what happened. But like I said, it's up to you. If you want to ask her questions, ask her. If you decide not to ask her questions, you can't go on television and be saying that she begged. Lobbying is legitimate. Lobbying is legitimate, and politicians will lobby. So if someone is appearing before an appointments committee and comes to lobby you, and you agree to be lobbied, that's your decision.
Is this unusual? I mean, when you sat on the appointments committee, did you ever have to cut short somebody's nomination or vetting because of whatever lobbying they did? I mean, has this happened to you before?
Yeah, I mean, people have lobbied, and then sometimes there are some people who are good. They are good leaders, but they are not good communicators. And one of the things that vetting does is to test your communication skills. And there are many of our colleagues, very, very good leaders, very hardworking, committee level, you know, they deliver on task and etc. But you notice that on the floor, they can't get up and really argue.
So how they do the work if they are given positions? Because you have, communication is part of leadership.
They will communicate, let's say, in a meeting, in a board meeting, in a discussion with their staff, with their management. They will communicate effectively, but just put the camera before them and then the story and the dynamics change. You get the point? Just put the whole world before them and then the story changes. So there are many of those who just fear, you know, the cameras, and so people like that will come and plead with you not to really subject them to a lot of grilling. Not that they are hiding anything, but they just feel that even though they are good, they could slip under pressure, and then in the process, you can talk to me for 10 hours. I will talk for 10 hours. I'm sure by the 10th hour, when you try to find where the mistakes are, you will. But that's because I've been a presidential spokesperson for years. I've been Minister of Information I've been on the floor of Parliament. I've been everywhere. And so...
And maybe your training too makes you...
And I have received training home and abroad in communication and interviewing skills and etc. and all that. So, but not many have received that kind of training. And sometimes the period within which their nominations were announced and when they were to appear before the vetting was so short that they couldn't really go through something. If you check, this is the shortest time in most cases that people have been nominated and then they are going to appear before the committee, and you know, they are vetted and then a report taken on them, and then the president gets to swear them.
What has changed? Why is it so different, so quick this time?
Because President John Dramani Mahama promised Ghanaians that he will be up and running within a short time after his election, and he will form government within a very short time. And we, his party members in Parliament, are committed to ensuring that. And I believe we achieved that because in 3 weeks, he's not yet even 1 month as president. In 3 weeks, he's almost formed his cabinet. All the cabinet ministers have been approved. It's now just the deputies to go and assist them. So his government technically is in place. If he swears them in today, the rest, the foreign minister and then Akando and Co, if they are sworn in today, effectively the cabinet is formed within 3 weeks of being president. And for us in Parliament, people haven't noticed. He started his nominations, I think, on the night. He was sworn in on the 7th. And then on the night, that's how many weeks?
So it's about three and a half.
3.5 weeks. Go and check the history. All previous presidents, and show me one president that was able to form his cabinet in 3 weeks.
If the minority say they have a role to play in this and they're actually cooperating with you, would they be far from the truth?
No. They were very, very cooperative. In spite of the drama of affair-making and etc., he was very, very cooperative. I mean, we needed to advertise the nominations for about 2 weeks. The shortest period that we've ever really considered to when we were minority was just a week or so, which was sparing, not very often. But like he himself has been saying on the floor, some of the cases we just advertised them for 2 days. Because a lot of them were our colleagues in Parliament. They were shadow ministers in their various sectors and etc. And these days with the medium of communication that we have, if you really have a petition, you can get it to us within seconds, within hours. You can WhatsApp it, you can text it, you can communicate to us. You don't need that long period to, unless you are now going to go and search for the content of your petition.
Exactly.
But if you already have it against the person and you hear the person's nomination as a minister by the president, you know very well that there will be opportunity for you to petition against the consideration of that person. So we shorten all those things, and then we put them under pressure. And sometimes they approved, they vetted 5 people, 6 people. In our days in opposition, you will be lucky if you got us to vet 3 people in a day or 4 people in a day. There were instances where we were charitable, but it wasn't a general pattern.
All right.
And on this occasion, he's been quite cooperative. He's allowed us, except that there was too much drama. And then people get angry. Why are you laughing? I can ask all those questions. I said, well...
Are you getting heat from your people?
Oh, yeah, we're getting a lot of heat from our people while we're tolerating affirmative, while we're alive. Sometimes they'll come and say, is the nominee able to answer the questions? They say, yes, he's answering the questions. Let him answer the questions, as simple as that.
Do your constituents call you for the heat, or it's party members?
Oh, just party members, not my specific constituents. I mean, some of my constituents were upset and they were saying, why are you alive? I said, so long as the nominee can answer the questions, I'm not interested in protecting the nominee. I will only protect a nominee that I think has difficulty answering questions. Somebody who is media shy, somebody who just doesn't like those kind of things. Then I'll find a way of protecting them. But guys that I'm confident about, like Ablakwa, I have so much confidence in Ablakwa that I said, look, leave him. They can ask Ablakwa questions for 10 hours. He will answer all those questions and he will sit there for 10 hours. Sam George, they can do 48 hours. He will be there with them 48 hours. He will answer every question. So why are you worried?
As long as they answer no wahala.
As long as he's answering no wahala. I only intervene when I see that the person has difficulty answering. I have to find a way of protecting that person.
All right, I'm going to intervene in some questions now from the viewers. 055-556-1034. Guest is the Majority Leader in Parliament, Hon Mahama Ayariga. This is from Brighton, Dansuman. It seems like the minority is trying everything to take the position of the majority in Parliament. Please ask the Majority Leader, what is his response to this? People feel that you are being bullied by the minority.
Oh, I keep telling people that it is the end. The end. What is the end? So yesterday, for instance, my decision was that by close of day, we will approve all those who have been vetted. There were, I think, about 12 of them or 13 or 11 or so. But then I will entertain all the drama on the other side. I will give them the opportunity to say whatever they want to say. But in the end, what we set out to achieve is to have all of them approved. Okay. In the end, they were approved. they had the opportunity to say whatever they want to say. Because in a democracy, you don't want to shut off or shut out dissenting views. You take them on board and let them enrich your policy. But at the end of the day, you need to take a decision. So for us, our agenda was get them approved, but at the same time, don't appear to be misusing your numbers, okay? Don't appear to have prevented your nominees from being questioned and held publicly accountable, because that's the essence of the idea of vetting. So whilst you have the numbers to prevent vetting, you don't use it that way. You can live with it. What you need the numbers to do and what you have to use the numbers to do is to get the approvals, ultimately. But let the vetting happen. And the only thing that people really used to say the minority was because the chairman of the committee was very entertaining of them. But that is the thing. If you have a minority like that, sometimes you just have to entertain them because you don't want to kill the democratic credentials of your country, that you are intolerant of dissenting views, and because you have the numbers, you're not going to be thorough and etc. So we will try to achieve a balance. But I always say, look at the end. What happened? We approved our ministerial nominees in record.
So the end justifies the means. So when people, your supporters are asking, for example, why do you look so weak from the president to the least person in the party? This is your response to them?
I don't think that we're weak. No. Being bullish is not strength. Strength is when you get your policy through and implemented the way you want it. 055-556-1034, questions to the Honorable Ayariga. Please ask him what they're going to do about the immature behavior of some of the members of the 9th Parliament. This is Prosper Komla Domenyo from Dakuman. That's very true, that we're seeing behavior that is not befitting of members of Parliament. The decision of the Speaker to move in and suspend whips.
When whips are being suspended, you know you have a problem.
You know you have a problem. So the decision to do that is an indication of the Speaker's commitment to instilling discipline. I want to assure people that discipline will instill. We haven't had the time to take them through a lot of training. We did some basic orientation because we have a lot more new members of Parliament this time, and it takes time to train them.
What is involved in the training? What do you teach them? A few things.
The rules and then the etiquettes there. A lot of them don't even know the rules yet. We've given them the standing orders to study, but then, beyond the standing orders, you have code of conduct. You also have practices, and you take them to retreats where you bring in experts, you bring in previous speakers, previous former members of Parliament to come and then take them through a lot of training.
You even have a dress code, right?
Yeah, dress code.
If I came to Parliament without a tie, would I be allowed to enter?
It depends on what you're wearing, and it depends on which day of the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so for instance, on Fridays, we come down. We come down, but then not that you should not wear a tie, but on Fridays you can wear African wear. Any other day you can, but depend on the day of the week. But the whole idea is that you should dress properly, because this is an important house, and you can't just
wear t-shirt.
Anything. And no, you cannot wear a t-shirt, or you cannot wear jeans and come in there. Yeah, sometimes people will be somewhere and then they will have to rush to Parliament, and then they are in a jeans, but you will find something like a smock or some dress that hides it, and you go and sit at the back and make sure that
they don't see
the other side, nobody sees it. Because if they see it, they will raise it.
Okay.
And they'll heckle you. If you try to take the floor to participate and members notice that you are not properly dressed, they will heckle you.
More questions. 055-556-1034. This is Akwesi Kisi from Gomwa Nkran. This is more like a comment. It says, time changes, power is transient. The MPP people would have rushed to the Supreme Court to secure an injunction against the Speaker's decision. So that's a comment there, really. Things have changed, right?
Well, I believe so. I believe so. I also, it's the way that you manage them. I mean, I believe they would have done so, but between when the speaker took the decisions and when they came to the floor to apologize, a lot of work went in there. A lot of work went in there. So it's all about how you manage people. I do my best to try and manage everybody well so that we can have a well-functioning parliament that is not characterized by, disputes and fights and etc. When that happens, even though we have the numbers and we can conduct business with or without anybody, but then when you completely shut out the opposition, you may not benefit from dissenting views.
Right. So they need to be heard.
You need them there. You need them to be there, questioning and probing and offering critique and dissenting views, so that you can take those on board to perfect your policy, to perfect your governance. And I always tell people that when I was presidential spokesperson for the late President Atamils, MPP spokesperson would be on radio lying about what they had achieved, how well they were performing, and etc. And people call me and say, why are you not responding to them? They are lying. And I said, the people living out there are living their reality. The person sitting in the studio is lying. What will happen is that the person sitting in the studio lying may actually get his own party people who should be working to convince the people out there to believe that they're actually doing well, when the reality on the ground is completely different. When they begin to believe their own lies, that is the shortest route to political destruction. So you leave them, let them lie and begin to believe their own lies, and you'll see what will happen to them in the election. And that is what happens. I always want a sounding board. I want critique. I want people checking. And I want the opposition in the chamber at all times so that we can hear dissenting views. We can hear alternative views. And I believe that this government wants to do the right thing and wants to be sure that what we are doing is the right thing. And if we give others the opportunity to critique us, we will know whether the ideas that we have are perfect or not.
Before we go, I mean, for the passing of Messrs. Ablakwa and George, the minority abstained from the vote? Is that it? They didn't take part?
That is what they said. They said they didn't want to take part in that. And so they didn't want us to say it was by consensus, but also they didn't want to participate in the vote, or that we should assume that their side had voted against. But then, like I joked about it, there were only 28 in the chamber. Even though he kept saying that we should have it on record that 88 of them abstained, I said, the people in the room are 28, so please, maybe 28 people have abstained. And then when the speaker tried to say, okay, so can I put the question on those who are abstaining so that you indicate that you are abstaining? He said, no, I don't want you to say we are abstaining. So are you participating in the vote? No, we are not participating in the vote. We are washing hands.
Yes,
off.
just by like that.
You get the point? So if you ask me, I really don't know what they did.
Is it part of the drama that you're talking about?
Exactly, just drama. But
is the minority leader always dramatic, even away from the cameras?
Well, I think he enjoys the airtime and is using it to the best of his ability. That's all I can say.
Going forward, what can we expect from your side of the House?
Our side of the House is going to take on the challenge of ensuring that our ministers keep to the promises that we made in our manifesto. Our side is going to ensure that our ministers are committed to the public interest. We are not going to leave that to any opposition party. I always say that there are two people who are elected on election day, the president and the member of parliament. When the citizens are going to punish, there are two people that they punish, the presidential candidate and the parliamentary candidate. So the parliamentary candidate has an interest, or the member of parliament has an interest in the executive doing well so that it will impact on the chances of the parliamentarians retaining their seats and even getting more seats. So we are going to insist and support our executive to do what is needed to fulfill our manifesto promises. The MPs are on the ground. They represent specific geographical spaces. They understand the infrastructure there. They understand the communities and the people there. And the people look up to them for leadership. And so our strategy going forward is to mobilize our parliamentarians to help the ministers to actually get grounded when it comes to implementing government policy so that the impact can be felt. And at the same time, Parliament is going to be a very robust place where feedback will be given back to the ministers, and then we'll help them to redesign, recraft policies and programs so that we can reduce the price of kenke, we can get all the institutions functioning. I always say that when there's an Afrobarometer report that says that Ghanaians don't have confidence in their institutions because the institutions have become dysfunctional, the responsibility is that of Parliament. Because the institutions themselves are outfits of the executive arm of government, the ministries and the agencies. But the Constitution says that the legislature should have oversight
Parliament
of those institutions. So if the institutions are not functioning, it means that the person who has oversight is also sleeping on the job. So we want to make sure that we assist the president to have the institutions function, because that is the platform on which President Mahama campaigned. He said he will reset Ghana. And resetting Ghana means that getting the institutions to function to the optimum, to deliver to the expectations of Ghanaians. And if they are all functioning effectively, I can assure you that life will be better in this country. And it is Parliament that constitutionally is mandated to make sure that these institutions are functioning well.
Just before you came on the set, one of the previous guests, Edgar Redu, made the point that in his eyes, before the election, the members of the people who want to be parliamentarians go to the people, sometimes even beg for the votes. They get into power, and then when they get into the House, they no longer seem to be representing the people, but are becoming more partisan. So it becomes, what can NDC do to show MPP, or what can MPP do to show NDC? And the people who brought them into power are neglected. What's your view on that?
Well, I think that you need to understand the constitutional framework that we operationalize. Now, the Constitution says universal adult suffrage. Every person above 18 should vote. But the Constitution also makes provision for the establishment of political parties to serve as platforms for contesting elections. And that platform will nominate a presidential candidate and also nominate a parliamentary candidate. Both the presidential and the parliamentary candidate tend to campaign on the same manifesto. Sometimes at the constituency level, you may add bits and pieces of your own promises as a parliamentarian, but essentially it is the party platform that you are running on. So it is only natural that when the party actually wins power, you and the president become a collective in terms of your program and agenda. Is that okay?
Yep.
But then in your constituency, you may have some additional things that you have promised that were not in your general manifesto. So if you are in government and you are now working and defending and pursuing the party position, it's just natural, because that's how the Constitution intends that it should function. That's why we even have the whip system. The whip system is such that when the party takes a position and you are in Parliament, and then they say vote along these lines, you must vote along those lines. And it's not just here, it's in the UK. I don't know how much he knows about the UK. If the party says 3-line whip, no matter what your conscience tells you.
What's a 3-line whip?
It just means that you have no discretion in the matter. You must vote the position of the party.
Is there a 2-line whip too?
Well, the general position is straight line whipping. You get the point.
Everybody vote this way.
Everybody vote this way. There are matters that you may have discretion, is that okay? Which you may describe as a two-line whip. But the whipping system is to get you to vote along the position of the party.
And if you don't, what happens?
You can get dismissed by the party. And unfortunately, based on what we know of the previous decision of Michael Kwe as Speaker and his understanding of the provisions of the Constitution, the party dismisses you, you leave Parliament. So that is how our Constitution is structured. I have fought that. I have been opposed to that. I have said, look, a party's decision to dismiss a member of Parliament should not lead to the member losing his seat, because then we all become beholden to our party positions, even if our consciences tell us differently. Even if the position of the party is not consistent with the interests of my specific constituency. But people will say, well, you should have run independent when you were coming here. If you run on the ticket of the party to come here and you get here, you must do what the party wants. So that is the structure of the Constitution. And so I don't think that you should have a problem understanding this.
Talking of the independents, so we have 4 in Parliament now, currently?
Yeah.
Are they all on your side?
All of them are on our side.
So they sit on your side?
Yeah, they join us, they caucus with us, they participate with us in everything that we do.
It's a 276-seat Parliament, correct?
Yes.
So by the nature of the arrangement, some of your members will be sitting close to the MPP guys, is that it?
Yeah, very, very, very close.
Who is the closest to them?
I don't know who, because we actually haven't finalized the sitting arrangement. We're waiting for the final list of ministerial nominees so that we know who are ministers, because you want to have the sitting arrangement in such a way that, you know, ministers are a place where their absence is not easily noticed, because most of them will be at their ministries working. You don't want the cameras zooming in and then you have empty seats at certain locations and that kind of thing. So we haven't really finalized our sitting arrangement. Depending on if you're a minister, there's a place where we'll sit you, because you don't want ministers sitting right in the middle, and then anytime they are coming in and going out, they're inconveniencing everybody. You want them seated at a place where they can slip in, participate in a few minutes, and then slip out without, you know, disrupting proceedings and inconveniencing their colleagues.
And without alerting the minority that the people are not around also, correct?
Or after the presence, the minority side are directly opposite, so they can see when somebody is not there, somebody is there.
Just a little bit back to the 2 ministers who were approved yesterday with the minority abstaining to vote. What are the consequences for that? Can they decide not to recognize them in future after they
no, they cannot refuse. They'll be the first to go looking for them. Don't worry, that's the politics.
So they'll
be the first to run there to try and get diplomatic passports and whatnot, and so forth. First, look, that the minister has to deal with. We are like that. We outside the Parliament. Trust me, we are the best of friends, and we deal with each other the way that we need to deal with each other. Whatever somebody has said in Parliament will not stop him the following morning from being in your office to request for something for his constituency. And you won't say, because yesterday you were saying this about me in the chamber, I will not do that, because you have a public obligation to do it. That's how it is. We say it, but the next moment we are calling each other and discussing, you know, what needs to be done for our constituents, and we have to respond. So
just for emphasis, these 2 who the minority abstained from voting for, they are legitimate, they will be sworn in by the president?
Well, yes, they are legitimate. Even if they had voted, they would have still won, so there's no issue.
So let's talk a little bit about your constituency.
Actually, when they abstain, they're actually helping you.
In what way?
If I vote against you, there's a record. I've taken you through a grueling exercise. If I don't vote against you and I have issues with you, but I decide not to vote against you, but to abstain, I've helped you.
So you see it as a win?
Yeah, they won. All they were expecting from those 2 nominees was some form of apology, and they said they won't apologize. So they had to eat the humble pie and then say, okay, well, we will not vote against you, but we won't participate.
What was the importance of that, Malcolm? What was the essence?
Just politics. Politics of the presidency.
When you are all not in front of the cameras, what would surprise me if I came and saw you interacting? 05555561034. Upon your American's agenda to take the high position in his party, what's your response?
To do what?
To whitewash. He thinks there's an agenda of the minority leader to take a high position in his party and use parliament to whitewash certain things, certain people in their party. It seems to be working. What would you say to this person?
If there are people in his party that are dirty, we have mechanisms to expose them. Parliament cannot be a platform to whitewash them. That's not possible.
Is oral one of them? Operation Recover?
Exactly. So go and report if you think any MPP member is dirty in any way. And I can assure you that, like I said, in each ministry. And once we establish that, we will hold people accountable. Filmmaking cannot stop anything.
Understand him. What would you describe as yours?
You mentioned that I am calm, everybody together. I have learned from people like Professor Evans Atamils. That is my model of politics. He taught us to be the father of all, to be accommodating, to carry the whole country along with us anytime we're doing anything, because you will move faster when you move with everybody. You may move fast, but you need to exert too much to move fast when you have half of the country pulling you back as you try to move. So there's less energy in trying to move along with them than in trying to force your way whilst they are pulling you back. And we just don't have the resources. We're already poor. I believe that naturally we have a lot of resources. We have so much wealth, but at any one given time, we haven't been able to harness all those resources to really be the wealthy nation that we should be. And so the little energy you have, you don't waste it fighting. It's better to spend a little of it negotiating and getting people on board so that you can move fast. I mean, like I said, in record time, we have approved 42 ministers. It's never happened before.
Less than a month, yeah.
In spite of all the drama, in spite of all the things that people say, Afremakin is doing, I said, at the end of the day, I said, okay, he's made all the noise that he wants to make, but how many ministers have I gotten approved today?
So show results, show working. Eh?
Exactly.
All right. 05555561034. Please ask Mr. Ayariga if he heard a minority member describe one of your MPs as a daughter of a murderer on the floor of Parliament last night.
Actually, on my way into the studio, I got a call from somebody reporting that incident to me and actually sending me a video of it, but I haven't been able to watch the clip because I was just walking into the studio. I will watch it, and this is a matter that we take very, very, very seriously, and we will investigate it, and we will definitely take very, very, very stern action.
More questions for the Majority Leader. Good morning. Hope your Majority Leader is also fine. Please, they should let Panyo Malkin understand the norms and also stop asking too many questions. Your members are frustrated by the level of questioning, the level of questions he asks.
People, actually, there was a meeting. To tell you the truth, there was a meeting on Monday with a view to changing the rule so that we can curtail the amount of time that the leader has to ask questions.
Did you do it to
I was opposed to the proposal. I opposed the proposal to cut down on the time. Honestly, I mean, I'm a very honest person. On television, wherever, what I will say in private is the same thing I'll say on television. I strongly opposed on Monday a proposal to restrict the timing that a leader has. And I said, look, I'm a student of English, history, and literature. And I recall reading a book called A Man for All Seasons. If you've read that book and you know the history of the Church of England, how King Charles and finally got the church established, there was a particular character in that book, Thomas More.
Yes.
Thomas More, the king wanted Thomas More to support his decision to marry a second wife. And More was, I believe, more devoted to the Catholic Church and all those things. And More wasn't really doing what the king wanted. And King set up people. And one of the things that they kept doing was to change the rules so that they could get Thomas More and finally to hang him. And there was something that he said in one of the passages, that he seeks refuge in the thicket of the forest. But that if you decide that you cut down all the trees to get to him, when you finish cutting the trees and then the storm comes, there will be no tree to protect you, the one who has been cutting the trees. So I told them on Monday that you may not be happy with how Afenyomarkin has utilized this facility, which is available to leaders, but don't forget that you could also be a minority leader
one day
tomorrow.
And you need that time.
And you need that facility.
So thinking ahead.
Me, I will not act on the basis of just one individual's misuse of a facility. I will wait till I see a consistent pattern of misuse of the facility, and I'll come to a conclusion that the only way to correct the system is to legislate and take out the facility. But for now, I'm willing to live with Afenyomarkin saying whatever. In any case, I told them, but I've already done 42 ministers, left with just 18. If I didn't change the rule
for 42,
for when he started and allow him to do up to 42, why would I change the rule now if it's left with just 18? I won't change the rule. He can ask as many questions as he wants. He can spend as much time as he wants. At the end of the day, if he spends that much time, I also force him to sit and vet them. Because if my target is that I want to finish 10 nominees in 2 days, and you decide that you want to ask one nominee 200 questions, fine, you can ask, but you will sit and vet those 10 nominees that day. So if you are closing at 1 a.m., you will sit and vet them. You decided to be asking questions that were not necessary. So I've set a target for you. You can go and sit and ask 1,000 questions. You will finish them that day for me. And then on the 3rd day, I'll have them approved. And then on the 4th day, I'll have them sworn in as minister. That's my target. You can talk for whatever period of time you want to talk.
Honorable Pilot Kobi Abolo inside Nima Auntie B's house. I hope you are satisfied with the response from the majority leader. I must commend the minority leader for how humbled he was yesterday. This is what was required of him, so he can get the citizenry moving along with him. And then Ali Ibrahim says he likes your leadership style. Yeah, I did see the minority leader looking quite humble with his hand behind his back. It was part of the drama, or just he was really humble?
That's why I started my commentary on what he had said by saying that I had taken a lesson in humility from him.
I did hear that. I did hear that. Please ask him why they intervened on behalf of the suspended MPs who vandalized state property bought by taxpayers' money. People are still angry.
Yeah, I mean, and legitimately so. I think people are entitled to be angry. We're all angry, except that we're just trying to sound calm, but we're all angry because that behavior really damages the image of Ghana's democracy. In this social media world, I'm sure within seconds, it was in South Africa, it was in Europe, it was in India, it was in Asia, it was in America.
It was on the BBC?
It was on BBC, and so, you know, unnecessarily you damage the reputation of a parliament and a democracy that everybody admires. You go everywhere in the world and say you're from Ghana, say, oh yeah, Ghana, you have a beautiful democracy, and then you come and sit here and then over very simple matters that you could have discussed or resolved, you are breaking tables on television and etc. So we're all very angry and upset. I speak, you are the ones actually holding me. I'm supposed to be one of the first to appear before the special committee this morning. So there's going to be a very meticulous and detailed inquiry into what happens, and then the appropriate sanctions will apply.
This will be the last question for you, 055556134. This is from Abdullah Seydu. He says, may Allah continue to bless you. Hope the total peace will come to our Bawku. He is writing to us from Bawku. Let's talk about Bawku, your constituency. What's the latest there right now? And when can we hope for total peace, as he's asking for?
Well, a lot of work is going on. Even yesterday, I held meetings at National Security with the various security couples. Work is beginning very soon. The president has already started. The president went to Bawku, went to Nalerugu, went to Ashantehene. The previous president had tasked Ashantehene to go into the matter, and the current president has decided that he should continue. And Otumfuo, I have met also for briefings and updates, and he is commencing work. I believe this week or next week, he will start engaging all the stakeholders. The new Interior Minister and Defense Minister have reached out, and they will be undertaking some visits to the constituency to go around and study and understand the security architecture there, understand the needs of the security agencies on the ground, engage the youth, and see how they can get the cooperation of the youth to give a little more time for the NDC as a government to go into the matter. And I have always used every platform available to me to appeal to the young people there, to appeal to our elders also, and everybody, that they shouldn't forget that this is a problem that has been there for more than half a century. And various solutions have been implemented, and yet we're still with the problem.
The curfew is still on, right?
No, the curfew is gradually being eased. The last time when we were renewing the curfew, we moved it to 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
The Interior Minister will further review it as we approach Ramadan to create a very enabling atmosphere for Muslims to fast and have their night prayers as expected in the religion. So we're making life easy. There's a few issues that are on the ground. There's some big fight around providing escorts and etc. There's some issues about people within the township having access to commodities and etc. These are matters that Otumfuo is going to look into immediately and give appropriate directions on. And so I'm just asking people, see, when you give a job to somebody, you don't go behind the person and you are doing things without the person's clearance and authorization. You don't know the extent to which what you will be doing will be undermining or will be considered by that person as you undermining the person. So everybody should just give us a few more days and the work will start in earnest. There's a lot of background work going on. There's a lot of consultation, a lot of engagement going on in background, and I am at the center of it, so I can tell you, there's a lot of work going on. I mean, half of my day's work is on Bawku. President gives me all the time and attention to discuss issues with him, and everybody else is cooperating on both sides, Mampushis, Kusasis, Moshis, houses, all those who are stakeholders honestly are cooperating, except that there are a few thorny issues. But there's a lot of background talking that needs to take place before you launch into action. And like I keep telling people, President Mahama is barely 1 month. He's not yet even 1 month in office. And so people shouldn't expect that within these 3 weeks, all the issues of Bawku would have been solved. It's not possible. But we'll solve it. And we'll solve it in a lasting manner. It's not about just solving it. You can move soldiers into Bawku today and then, think you have solved it. But that has happened in the past, and then people have just kept quiet. And then the day NDC is not in office, they will come back and then start all over again. You don't want that to happen again.
When your father was MP for Bawku, did you ever dream that you would become MP one day?
I didn't even understand what MP was at that time because I was a small boy. So it wasn't something that I thought about.
It must be an honor for you to represent your people.
There's no greater honor than that. There's no greater honor than having the opportunity to fix your country, to try and change it. And we all want to leave a legacy behind, and that is what is driving us.
Mr. Majority Leader in Parliament, thank you so much for the time.
Thank
I must
you so
ask
much.
a last question, which has nothing to do with Bawku, nothing to do with Parliament, but everything to do about what is on your head. I've seen so many different colors of these hats. How many do you have?
The last time somebody brought me 12.
At the stretch. Really snazzy and fashionable.
Well, my head is balding a bit, so
you're covering the climate change. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you a good day.
Thank you, thank you.
Honorable Mahama Ayariga is the Member of Parliament for Bawku and Majority Leader in Parliament. If you missed the conversation, go to our Facebook page, GTV Ghana, you will get it. Look out for the stories on gbcghanaonline.com. My name is Kafri Day, bringing us to the end of Breakfast Show for today, the 5th of February. God bless. Take care.
But that follow, look, I'm so